I was sent this in the Ahole post from a woman. It really does seem like housework, the unpaid labor within the house, is what is causing so many major battles within couples. So she says, Am I the a-hole for not doing enough chores to keep my husband for filing for divorce? She's like, I'm not going to do any more. So if you want to file for divorce, file it, I guess. So let's look at this post. It is actually a long one. I just kind of skimmed it, but let's jump into it. All right, she says, first and foremost, I acknowledge there are frequently three sides to every story. Therefore, I will do my best to provide the third unbiased series of events by also providing my husband's stated reasoning for divorce. I am not above admitting the possibility that I may be the a-hole, but at this point, I need some unbiased perspectives because I'm too emotionally involved in this situation. So they're both 30. She says, so for some background, I have been married to my husband for 3 years. We have 2 children together, a 2-year-old toddler and a baby. One of the biggest causes of disagreement between us is that he believes I don't do enough housework. For some background, as my husband has pointed out about me, I did grow up very lazy. My mom provided a lot for me when I lived at my parents' home until I moved out. Living out on my own initially was quite an adjustment, but I have fostered my own independence and learned some necessary life skills along the way. Some more relevant background is that our home environments growing up were quite different. His house growing up was very clean and decluttered. My house, on the other hand, was always messy. The reason I bring this up is to point out that as a result of our different upbringings, I do believe each of us has a different tolerance for cleanliness, and a little or a lot of messiness really doesn't bother me. Whereas a dining room table full of papers or a floor full of toys really stresses him out. Since having our kids, obviously we've had a lot less time on our hands to keep the house clean, on top of both of us working full-time jobs. My husband and I have each agreed on the general allocation of responsibilities. He primarily takes care of anything outside the house. I primarily take care of anything inside the house. This means I primarily keep an eye on the kids, clean up after them, make food for our toddler, bottle feed our baby, pump breast milk, rock the baby before his nap, cook dinner, tidy up, do laundry, wash the dishes. Most of this stuff that needs to be completed every day, so it keeps me quite busy trying to stay on top of all this. Dinner and laundry are things that frequently get pushed to the side when it's a busier day. The thing is, this is where women get trapped up, saying that I will do all of the things inside the home. And doing the things that are inside the home is done every day, sometimes multiple times a day, like washing dishes and cooking. So this is always such a trap. Like, I'll take care of the mowing of the lawn, the gutters, the cars, blah, blah, blah. It's never split up as far as the time goes, balanced. On the other hand, my husband's primary responsibilities, including keeping track of our finances, grocery shopping, and anything outside the house, mowing, weeding, etc. But most of all, we have faced a lot of major home problems that my husband has been DIYing to save money. This is often time consuming, not only due to the outside labor, but also researching how to accomplish these things takes time. However, this work mostly occurs during the half of the year where it's warm enough outside, which we are entering that phase now. He doesn't complete the DIY housework every day, maybe a few evenings per week for a few hours. Furthermore, he goes to the store probably a few times a week and generally is gone for a couple of hours each time. He also does help out with the kids if I request it. For example, if I'm feeding the baby and ask him to warm up some food for our toddler, or asking him to watch our toddler while I put the baby down for a nap. Furthermore, he'll help with the dishes a few days per week as well. She has to ask her husband to watch their child while she puts the baby down. Like, I feel like you shouldn't have to ask that, but this is where we are. As my husband often reminds me, most husbands don't contribute this much to the household, so I should be very grateful for all he does, which I definitely am. Our relationship issues have not arisen from me doubting his contribution to the household. They arrive from his doubts about my contribution. Oh, okay. That being said, given that I do primarily take care of the day to day upkeep of the house and the raising of the children, I am normally constantly busy. Though I'll admit, sometimes if both kids are playing together in the living room, sometimes I'll pull out my phone and scroll through Facebook for 10 or 15 minutes or so. Terrible momming, I know, but mama needs a mental break sometimes from the craziness. With both me and my husband's house contributions laid out on the table, I will add that he does have more free time than me, as in he will sit down and watch a couple of episodes of a sitcom or sleep in a couple of hours on the weekend, etc., while I continue watching and interacting with our kids and or doing chores, though his work is often more labor intensive, so it can be more exhausting. She was really trying to be even-handed with this story. While earlier in our relationship, I had more time to allocate towards chores, and I did slack on the chores earlier in our relationship prior to kids, I'll admit. We now have 2 kids, and most evenings I have my hands full with them on top of working a full-time job during the daytime. Unfortunately, this means I don't have a lot of time for much else. I only cook dinner maybe 3 times per week, except making food for my picky toddler, which is every day. Laundry gets done once per week if I'm lucky, though currently it's been sitting unfolded for a couple of weeks now. Which brings us to last week, when my husband sat down with me to say he couldn't do this relationship anymore if I couldn't put in more effort towards the chores. He wants a divorce. I told him I was already putting in as much effort as I could. I didn't really have free time to myself as it was. If I had any free time where neither of the kids needed me, that time I was spent doing chores, and that often only occurred for 15 minutes at a time before the kids needed me again. He argued I shouldn't be going to sleep at night until all my responsibilities were complete. As it is, I normally go to sleep between 9 and 10, wake up once for an hour overnight to feed the baby and do a diaper change, and then I wake up at 6 a.m. to get ready for work. This is especially frustrating because he has more free time than me to accomplish these tasks if he wanted to, but he doesn't because, as he says, these types of household chores are my responsibility. I feel that in order to complete my work responsibly at my job and to have patience to be the best mom I can be at home, I need to have a minimum amount of sleep per night, which is why I go to sleep at that time. I don't think it's unreasonable considering when I wake up and considering I have to get up with the baby at night. Yes, it would be nice if all the toys were picked up every day, if the laundry was cleaned and folded neatly in drawers instead of crumpled up in the dryer, if we ate a fresh meal every night, but I can't do it all with minimal help. Yeah, so start pitching. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm putting in so much work and he still expects me to do more. But to be honest, I'm giving so much of myself as it is. There's only so much you can do before breaking. When you have kids and work a full-time job, you can't be the absolute perfect mom and housewife. All I can do is my best, and I think I'm doing that. So tell me, Reddit, am I the a-hole? This woman is absolutely not the a-hole. And I know she wanted to go into their history and all of that, but just thinking about right now and having a toddler, a baby, and a full-time job, yeah, it's going to be a mess. Sometimes it's going to be a mess sometimes, but he's going to have to pull in and pull more of some of the weight on the inside versus like telling her to not get sleep. Like that part right there shows how much of an a-hole he is. And that's what K.A. Irony says, not the a-hole. Seriously, add up all the time for each of your tasks and you'll see that you're spending way, way more time than he is. What an a-hole. Agree to his divorce. Make sure physical custody is 50-50. You can finally get a break. He can enjoy doing his share of the internal chores. Hell, offer to switch with him. You take care of the outside. He takes care of the inside, including the kids. And when I made a comment, that's what I said. I said, if he actually divorces her, give him 50-50. That way she will actually get a break and then she can catch up on her sleep. She can catch up on the laundry. She won't have as much to do because he will be taking care of the kids and she'll get a break. Absolutely call his bluff. You know, this actually did kind of irritate me because these dudes really be acting like doing stuff on the outside is the same as doing stuff on the inside. But I want to hear what you say, so join the conversation, like, comment, and share.